Hello, I'm Kiran and welcome to my woodworking channel. In this video, I'll be reviewing my Bosch 12-inch Glide compound miter saw. I've owned this saw for about 5 years and this is one of the truly professional tools in my tiny wood workshop. Take that down. So, how am I able to fit in a professional grade tool in my tiny workshop has to do with its footprint. You can't talk about this saw in the context of my shop without talking about the footprint of the saw. So I had a Ryobi 10-inch fixed housing saw before I bought this, and that had only a 7-inch crosscut capacity. This, on the other hand, has a 12-inch blade and a 13.5-inch crosscut capacity. So going from a compact saw to a full-size saw, I had to give up only 3 or 4 inches of additional space, all thanks to its compact design and the glide mechanism. So this saw is able to snug up against the wall and not take a lot of space, so I'm able to have more space to walk around in the shop. And also it has plenty of power at 15 amps. So I'm going to bring the camera in a little closer and take a look at a few of the design aspects of the saw and a few bells and whistles on the saw. Here's a little close-up of the saw. There's the saw housing, and this is the blade guard / blade assembly. So this is a pretty sturdy base, and this is a very heavy saw. My review today is based on my experience as a woodworker and this saw being a stationary tool in a small workshop. I can imagine hauling this around in a work site, job site setting because, as I said, this is really heavy. So maybe a 10-inch version of this makes more sense, but I certainly don't see this being a good job site saw. As I said, this is a full compound miter saw in that it is able to do bevel cuts as well as miter cut. That makes it a compound cut. And one of the best aspects is that all the controls for bevels as well as miter are up front here. So this is one of the biggest advantages for me because when I had the Ryobi saw, I had to reach out in the back near the blade housing, and that made it really awkward in the tiny space. Whereas in this one, you just loosen this knob like so here, and then just lift this and slide it to different miter angles. This has standard D10 angles here at 0, 15, 22.5, 31.6 and 35.6, and obviously 45. So it miters from 50 degrees to the left to 60 degrees to the right, but you're able to lift this little lever up and override the D10s where it makes it a smooth miter glide. Same deal with the bevel here. There's a control on the right side here that indicates bevel to the left or bevel to the right, and on the left here there's a bevel lock. You simply lift the bevel lock up like so and then set it to bevel right or bevel left. Here I'm going to select the bevel right, and just like that, claw starts to bevel. It's again 47 degrees to the left and 47 to the right, and there are positive D10s again here at 22.5 degrees, 30 degrees, 33.9 and 45. To release it, again, push it back ever so slightly and pull it back to 0 degrees, and then lock it down. As I said, as a woodworker, most of the time I'm using this in straight cut configuration or 90-degree configuration or 0-degree miter configuration, however you want to call it. So my purpose is for this saw to cut straight with respect to the fence here and able to get this 13.5-inch crosscut capacity. If you notice, I've set my miter saw up with the Craig fence. That gives me the ability to cross-cut major pieces accurately to the length or rough cut big pieces to break them into smaller sizes. Those two things are the main purposes of this saw, and pretty much anything that I build in my shop has to go through this saw because either the workpiece is too big, so I had to cut it down roughly to the size, or I need to square the long ends of a board to perfect 90-degree cuts. So I use this saw in conjunction with this miter fence as well as the stop lock that comes with the saw. This cuts very accurately in my opinion when it's at 0 degrees. I have not verified the accuracy of miters and bevels because those are not a required accuracy skills for me. The saw has very little side-to-side place. You can see there's a little bit if you push it, but when you're making that cut, it just cuts ever so smoothly. This is the articulating arm of the saw. It's like kind of a robotic arm. Because of it, there's no requirement for any sort of rails, so this saw can butt up against the wall. In a rail system, when the blade housing comes forward like this, it has to slide on the rail system, and when it goes back, the rail system also has to go back. Therefore, you need that extra space, whereas in this articulating setting, you don't need that. As you can see it's the same articulation. The glidiness of the saw, if you can call it that, can be controlled by adjusting this nut here. It makes it kind of, it can add more tension or keep it very free like I have set it in my shop. The saw has on-off switches for both left-handed operation as well as right-handed operations. As you can see, you can do it this way, or if you're a right-handed person like me, you can use this. That allows both types of operations. The blade changing mechanism is not very easy, but it's not too cumbersome either. This saw did come with a 12-inch Freud blade. I wasn't sure if the blade was any good, so I simply swapped it out to the Diablo 12-inch 62 blade. I still have the Bosch blade though. Once this goes bad, I'm gonna swap it out to the original blade to see how that works. The fence, it comes with the factory setting. I found it to be very, very accurate. There's a notch here where you can move the fences outwards or inwards, depending on whether you're doing any beveled, mitered, compound angle cuts. And also the bed itself can be extended out by adjusting this screw, and you can push it in if you're in sort of transportation mode, or extend it out. I've left it extended out because I don't have a fence on the right side. I've only set the fence on the left side, so I feel like I need this additional support. This saw didn't come with a stop. This, I believe, is an optional accessory that I bought, not knowing that I'm going to be buying a Craig system soon after. There's also a glide prevention that you can use it for transportation, or now in a kind of chop saw setting where you repeatedly want to chop something off without having it slide. So now this is just firmly locked in. And there's also a depth control mechanism where you can set this up. As you can see now, this, if I plunge it, the saw is not going all the way through. This is actually useful. Make a big rabbet for half lap joints. The saw comes with this factory hold down clamp, which is not super useful. The dust collection on this saw is one of the biggest downsides of this. The factory dust collection is average. So it comes with a dust elbow. Dust port takes a 35mm hose. I do hook it up to a shock vac, but one of the things that I've done to improve that is to extend this dust boot. I kind of looked up a few videos here on YouTube, so I extended the dust boot out. That has made the dust collection on this saw much more efficient than when it came out of the factory. I'm not happy with the throat plate either. I understand why they send these plastic pieces as throat plates, because I think in a miter and bevel angle setting that's more useful. But for me, I need to have a zero clearance throat plate. That's on one of my to-do list. Well, if it's been on your to-do list for 5 years, can't even call it a to-do list anymore? I don't know. So that's been on my to-do list for a long time. As well as building a dust shroud or dust housing in the back. That's truly the permanent solution as far as shop compound miter saws go. So those are the few things that I plan to do for this saw. So watch out for a future video. This has a 15 amps motor and it's plenty powerful. I cut down hardwoods and softwoods all the time, and it cuts down without any sort of burning with very clean look. One of the biggest drawbacks from a usability perspective, for me at least, this saw didn't come with a laser out of box. However, Bosch does make an optional laser. So the first accessory that I bought for this saw, you can say, is that laser. That makes this saw very accurate and repeatable, mainly because I know where exactly the cut line would be, and so I can set my stop lock on this crank on the miter fence and then just batch out a bunch of pieces. This saw was $550 5 years ago when I bought it. I think the price kind of hovers around the 500 to 600 range. So in closing thought, I absolutely love my compound miter saw. This is very powerful, quite compact, and a professional grade accuracy tool that fits very nicely in my tiny workshop. This has some minor flaws such as dust collection and subpar throat plate, but nothing that you can't fiddle around a little bit and improve them to make it your own. I have no hesitation at all to recommend this to anybody and be reasonably confident that whoever will use this end up liking the saw. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and leave your questions and comments in the comment section below. Please consider subscribing to my channel for more of project build, tool reviews, and other shop related projects. Thank you for watching.